AITA for leaving after my girlfriend threatened to end our relationship for good? I'm Charles, 34, and after 6 years with Marissa, I knew the sound of her key in the lock better than my own ringtone. I was the guy who left the porch light on, made the coffee too strong every morning, and tried not to ask questions unless something actually felt wrong. For a long time, I thought that made me trusting. By the end, she treated it like proof I would tolerate anything. Marissa and I had the kind of life that makes a breakup feel less like ending a relationship and more like taking apart a machine while it's still running. We had shared furniture, shared bills, spare keys on the same hook by the door, auto-pay reminders with both of our names on them, and a junk drawer full of old chargers neither of us could identify, but neither of us wanted to throw away. We had been together since our late 20s. We weren't married, but after 6 years, people stopped asking when we were getting serious because the answer seemed obvious. We had a favorite takeout place. We had our side of the couch. We had a grocery list on the fridge where she wrote almond milk and I wrote coffee filters, and somehow that felt like a promise. I was never the boyfriend who needed her phone password or wanted a play-by-play of her night. She had male friends. I had female friends. Sometimes she went out without me. Sometimes I did the same. I thought that was healthy. I still think it is. The problem was never that Marissa had a coworker named Tyler. The problem was that Tyler slowly became an answer to questions I hadn't asked yet. At first, he was harmless. Tyler was the guy at work who made everyone laugh. Tyler knew the best place for tacos after a late shift. Tyler had a car when someone needed a ride. Tyler sent dumb memes that made Marissa laugh into her phone while we watched TV. The first time I heard his name, I barely noticed. Tyler said the new manager looks like a substitute teacher who got lost, she told me one night, kicking off her shoes by the door. I laughed because she laughed. Poor guy. It's true, though. For a while, Tyler was just another name in her day. Then he became the name that came up 3 times in one conversation. Then he became the name she suddenly stopped saying. That was what got my attention. Marissa used to be chatty when she got home. She would drop her bag on the chair, open the fridge, and tell me everything. Who was annoying? Who was funny? Who had drama? What someone said in the break room. Then, gradually, her nights out became vague. A few of us are grabbing drinks. Work people. Just the usual group. When I asked who was going, she would roll her eyes before I even finished the sentence. Why does it matter? It doesn't, I said the first time. I was just asking. That's how it starts. How what starts? The checking up. The weird tone. There was no tone until she accused me of having one. I told myself I was being sensitive. Couples get comfortable. People get tired. Maybe she was just annoyed. Maybe I was paying attention to Tyler because I had decided he mattered, and now everything felt bigger than it was. So I backed off. Then the late night started. Not every night. Not even every week at first. Just often enough that it formed a pattern I couldn't unsee. She would text at 9:43 p.m., leaving soon. Then I would wake up on the couch at 1:18 a.m. with some cooking show playing quietly and no Marissa. When she came in, she was already irritated. Don't start, she would say, before I opened my mouth. I didn't say anything. You have that face. What face? The disappointed husband face. I'm not your husband. Exactly. So don't act like one. That one landed harder than she probably meant it to, but I didn't argue. I went to bed. In the morning, she acted normal, kissed my cheek while I poured coffee, and asked if we needed eggs. That was how it worked for a while. She pushed the boundary at night, then reset the relationship in the morning like nothing had happened. I tried to have one calm conversation at the kitchen table. I waited until a Saturday afternoon because I didn't want to do it when either of us was tired or angry. She was scrolling on her phone, one leg tucked under her, while I stood by the sink pretending to rinse a mug that was already clean. Can we talk about something without it becoming a fight? I asked. She didn't look up. Depends what it is. That right there is kind of why I'm nervous to ask. She put her phone down, screen facing the table. Okay, talk. I sat across from her. When you say you're coming home soon, and then you come home hours later, I need a heads up. That's it. I'm not asking you to report every move. Just don't leave me wondering if something happened. She stared at me for a few seconds, then laughed like I had disappointed her. A heads-up text is not a leash, I said. That sounds exactly like something a controlling boyfriend would say. I blinked. Marissa? No, seriously. You don't hear yourself. I'm saying text me if you're going to be home at 2 in the morning instead of 11. And I'm saying I shouldn't have to manage your anxiety every time I leave the house. That was when I realized the conversation had already been decided before I walked into it. I wasn't asking for respect. I was defending myself against a label. Insecure became her favorite word. If I asked why she turned off location sharing on a night, she said she was with Lauren. I was insecure. If I asked why her jacket smelled like cologne I didn't wear, I was insecure. If I asked why Tyler was suddenly liking old pictures of her from 3 years ago, I was embarrassing. One night, I said, I'm not asking where you breathed air tonight. I'm asking why the story keeps changing. She leaned against the counter with her arms crossed. This is exactly why I don't tell you things. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. You make everything ugly. I wanted to say, no, you make everything vague and then blame me for noticing. But I was still trying to be the calm one. I still believed if I explained myself carefully enough, she would understand. My friend Evan was the first person to tell me I sounded ridiculous. Not because I was wrong, because I kept trying to win an argument that had no rules. We were eating lunch in his truck one afternoon, parked behind a strip mall, because he had called and said I sounded like a hostage negotiating with a fog machine. I told him everything. Tyler, the late nights, the way Marissa turned every question into proof that I was broken. Evan listened without interrupting, which was rare for him. Then he wiped his mouth with a napkin and said, "Stop arguing." That's your advice? No. My advice is stop trying to win a conversation with someone who keeps changing the subject. Write down what actually happened. I'm not trying to build a court case. You don't need a court case. You need reality. Dates, times, texts, not feelings, facts. I hated that he was right. That night, after Marissa fell asleep, I opened the Notes app on my phone and started a timeline. I didn't write emotional paragraphs. I wrote short, ugly facts. March 8th. Texted, leaving soon, at 10:12 p.m., came home 1:47 a.m. March 21st. Location off from 10:34 p.m. to 2:05 a.m. said phone died. Battery was 42% when she got home. April 3rd. Said girls only. Lauren later said she stayed home sick. April 19th. Doorbell motion 2:13 a.m. Tyler's car. Marissa came in 2:18 a.m. Writing it down made me feel worse and better at the same time. Worse because the pattern was real. Better because I wasn't crazy. Then the shared tablet gave me something I couldn't explain away. We had an old tablet in the living room that mostly existed for recipes, streaming apps, and looking up random things during arguments about movie actors. It still received some of Marissa's notifications because she had logged in months earlier and never logged out. One Sunday morning, while I was looking for a recipe, a rideshare notification popped up. Trip canceled. I froze. It was from the night before. I tapped nothing. I didn't go digging through her account. The notification preview was right there. Pickup time, 12:58 a.m. canceled, 1:06 a.m. The doorbell clip from that same night showed Tyler's car pulling into our driveway at 1:21 a.m. Marissa had told me a few of us grabbed drinks, and Jenna dropped me off. Jenna hadn't been there. I knew because Jenna mentioned it by accident 2 days later when a few of us were on a group call planning a friend's birthday. I haven't been out with Marissa in forever, Jenna said. She keeps inviting me when I'm already in sweatpants. Marissa laughed too quickly. You're always in sweatpants. I said nothing. That became my new strategy. I stopped reacting in the moment. Not because I had no anger left, but because every emotional reaction became evidence for her version of me. I saved the doorbell clips. I took screenshots of my own texts. I noted when location sharing turned off, only because it had always been casual between us before. We both used it to see who was closer to the grocery store or whether one of us had already left. It had never been a surveillance thing until she started turning it off only on certain nights. I also started quietly separating what I could. I changed passwords to my personal email, bank app, and cloud account. I removed my card from subscriptions she used but didn't need. I checked which utilities were under my name, which were under hers, and which were joint. I found our latest lease renewal email and read the whole thing twice, including the part about move-out notice and property access. I didn't pack her things. I didn't touch her belongings. I didn't lock her out. Both of our names were on the lease, and even if they hadn't been, I wasn't going to do anything stupid just because I was angry. But I did pack one overnight bag for her. Not as a threat, not as a dramatic gesture. It had toiletries, a few changes of clothes, her laptop charger, medication from the bathroom cabinet, and the spare car key she always misplaced. I put it in the hall closet behind the vacuum. 3 days later, Tyler's car came back. Marissa had texted me at 8:54 p.m., one drink with work people. Home early. I replied, okay, be safe. At 12:31 a.m., I woke up in bed and reached across the mattress. Her side was empty. At 1:14 a.m., I texted, everything okay? No response. At 1:52 a.m., I got up, drank water straight from the kitchen sink because I didn't want to turn on too many lights, and stood there in the dark feeling pathetic for waiting. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. Doorbell motion. I opened the clip. Tyler's car rolled into the driveway, headlights washing across the garage door. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then I saw two silhouettes in the front seats. The clip ended after 30 seconds. Another started. Still sitting there. No one got out. I watched 4 clips like that. When Marissa finally walked in at 2:17, she didn't look guilty. She looked ready. That scared me more. She dropped her purse on the counter hard enough to knock over a stack of mail. Don't, she said. I was standing by the kitchen island with my phone in my hand. Why didn't you text me that Tyler was bringing you home? Her face twisted. Because I don't report my movements to you. I didn't ask for a report. I asked why you lied. I didn't lie. You said work people. You said home early. You came home after 2 in his car. It was a ride. Then why sit in the driveway? She laughed once, cold and sharp. Are you serious right now? Yes. You watched the doorbell camera? It alerted my phone. It's our driveway. Oh my God. She put both hands on her head like I had done something insane. You're watching me like a criminal. No, Marissa. I'm asking why another man is sitting in our driveway with you after 2 in the morning. Because he gave me a ride. You canceled a rideshare last weekend and came home with him then too. That was the first time her expression slipped. Only for a second. Then she recovered and went straight for my character. You went through my stuff? No. The notification came up on the shared tablet. That is such a violation. So is lying. You're making this ugly because you can't handle me having friends. I can handle friends. My voice rose before I could stop it. I can't handle being lied to and then called insecure for noticing. She slapped her palm on the counter. You are insecure. I raised a question. You're paranoid. Don't call it jealousy when I'm asking why another man is sitting in our driveway with you after 2 in the morning. You sound pathetic. That one hit something in me that had been bending for months. I stepped back from the island, partly because I needed distance and partly because I wanted there to be no misunderstanding about my body, my hands, or the door behind her. I didn't touch her. I didn't block her. I didn't throw anything. But I did raise my voice. You keep using trust like a lock on my mouth, I said. She stared at me. You don't want trust. You want silence. Her eyes went shiny, but not sad. Angry. Say one more word about Tyler, and I'll make this breakup official. And that was the moment something in me finally stopped trying to save us. Not because I didn't love her. I did. That was the ugly part. I loved the woman I made coffee for every morning. I loved the version of us that had grocery lists and half-finished shows and inside jokes about neighbors we never spoke to. But I didn't love being trained to fear a question. I walked to the hall closet, opened it, and pulled out the overnight bag. Marissa looked at it, then at me. What is that? Your bag. Her mouth opened slightly. I set it by the front door. You keep saying maybe we shouldn't be together whenever I ask for basic respect. Tonight, I'm finally taking you seriously. You packed my things. A few days worth. Clothes, charger, medication, toiletries. Your spare key. You're not locked out. Your name is on the lease. You can stay in the spare room if you want. You can stay with a friend if you want. But the relationship is over, and I'm not doing kitchen arguments anymore. For the first time that night, she looked unsure. Then anger came back to rescue her. You're throwing me out over a ride? No. I'm ending this because you lied, then tried to make me feel crazy for asking about it. She grabbed the bag, but she didn't leave right away. She stood there like she expected me to fold. I think she was waiting for the old version of me, the one who over-explained, apologized for his tone, and asked if we could start over in the morning. I didn't give her that. Logistics and writing from now on, I said. Text or email. No more screaming in the kitchen. She shook her head. You're going to regret this. Maybe. She left. Tyler's car was still close enough that I saw the brake lights flash at the end of the street. I shut the door and stood in the dark kitchen until the refrigerator hummed on and scared me back into my own body. I didn't sleep. At 6:40 a.m., Marissa texted me. "Marissa, I can't believe you humiliated me like that." Me, I didn't humiliate you. I ended a conversation that kept going in circles. Marissa, you packed a bag like I'm some cheating wife. Me, I packed necessities so you had options. You still have access to the apartment. We can discuss the lease in writing. Marissa, you're insane. Me, I'm not debating labels anymore. Then I emailed the property manager and asked what the process was if one tenant wanted to leave a shared lease early or if both tenants agreed to a transfer. I worded it neutrally. No accusations. No drama. Just logistics. I made a list of shared belongings. Couch, coffee table, bed frame, dishes, TV stand, air fryer, dining chairs. I listed what had been mine before the relationship and what had been hers. I made a folder on my laptop with the doorbell clips, screenshots of my own texts, the rideshare notification photo from the tablet, and lease emails. I felt ridiculous doing it, like a man preparing for a storm everyone else insisted was sunshine. Then Jenna called. I almost ignored it. Jenna was Marissa's friend too, and I didn't want to spend my morning being told I had overreacted by a committee. But I answered. Her voice was low. Charles. Yeah. I need to tell you something, and I need you not to blow up. That is not a comforting opening. I know. She sighed. Marissa told people you kicked her out last night because Tyler gave her a ride. Of course she did. She also said you've been tracking her and watching her every move. I rubbed my eyes. I'm not doing this. Wait, there's more. Something in her tone changed. The guilt got heavier. I stayed out of it because I thought it was couple drama, Jenna said. Then I saw what she wrote. What did she write? There was a pause. I'm sending screenshots. I should have sent them earlier. My phone buzzed 3 times while we were still on the call. The screenshots were from a private group chat. I recognized the names, Jenna, Lauren, Marissa, and 2 other friends. I had never been in that chat, obviously. I didn't ask why Jenna had screenshots. I just opened them. Marissa, Charles is doing that thing again. Lauren, what thing? Marissa, acting weird about Tyler. Jenna, wait, I thought Lauren was with you last night. Marissa, don't start. I'll handle him. Then another screenshot from weeks earlier. Marissa, he won't actually leave. He hates starting over. Someone replied with a laughing emoji. Marissa, if he catches the rides, I'll make him look crazy first. I read that line maybe 10 times. If he catches the rides, I'll make him look crazy first. Not if he misunderstands. Not if he gets jealous. If he catches the rides. Like the lie was already built and waiting. Jenna was still on the phone. She said, I'm sorry. I could barely answer. How long has she been saying this stuff? A while. Before I even confronted her. Yes. I sat down on the edge of the couch. The apartment looked the same as it always had, but it felt staged now, like a set where I had been playing the idiot boyfriend in someone else's story. She used my name too, Jenna said. That's part of why I'm calling. She told you I dropped her off a couple of times, didn't she? Yeah. I didn't. I wasn't there. And Lauren wasn't there either on at least one of those nights. Marissa used us as cover. Why tell me now? Because she sent a voice memo this morning crying about you throwing her out, and I realized she was doing it again, setting the story before anyone asked for facts. I didn't know what to say. I was angry at Marissa. I was a little angry at Jenna too, even though she was helping me now. I'm not choosing sides, Jenna said quietly. I'm choosing not to lie. That line stayed with me. The second twist came from Evan, of all people. He had a cousin who knew someone in Tyler's circle. That sounds like the start of a rumor, and normally I would have ignored it. But Evan didn't send me gossip. He sent me a screenshot and said, "This is ugly, but you need to see it." It was from a conversation Tyler had with another guy. I didn't know the guy. I didn't care. The important part was Tyler. Tyler, she told me things are basically over at home. Other guy, you trying to date her? Tyler, nah. She's drama at home. I like the attention, but I'm not signing up for that mess. Other guy, then why keep picking her up? Tyler, she asks, and she's fun when she's not crying about him. I sat with my phone in my hand and felt something colder than anger. Marissa had risked 6 years for a man who described her like bad weather. That didn't make me happy. It didn't even feel like revenge. It felt pathetic in the saddest way. She had made me the villain in a story where Tyler wasn't even trying to be the hero. For the next week, I became boring on purpose. Marissa sent paragraphs. I sent logistics. Marissa, I hope you're proud of yourself. Everyone thinks you're unstable now. Me. We need to decide whether you want to remain on the lease until it ends or request removal if management allows it. Marissa, that's all you care about? Me. Logistics in writing. Marissa, you can't just end 6 years over one fight. Me. It wasn't one fight. Marissa, you were supposed to fight for us. Me. I did. I fought for honesty until you made honesty feel like an accusation. She hated that I wouldn't get pulled into emotional mud anymore. She came by twice that week. The first time, I had Evan there. Not to intimidate her. To make sure there was a witness and no one could twist anything. She walked in, saw him sitting at the kitchen table with a soda, and scoffed. Really? You need security now? I need clarity, I said. She went into the bedroom and packed clothes, slamming drawers, but not speaking to me. I stayed in the living room. Evan looked uncomfortable, which was fair. The whole thing was uncomfortable. When she came out, she paused by the couch. You know Tyler was just being nice, right? I looked at her. Then why did you lie? She looked away first. The second time she came by, she brought Lauren. Lauren wouldn't look me in the eye at first. She had been one of the people repeating Marissa's version. I found out later. She had told someone I was turning into one of those guys, and that Marissa needed support. I didn't blame her for believing her friend. Not completely, but it still hurt. While Marissa packed shoes from the closet, Lauren stood near the front door holding a tote bag. She told me you were tracking her, Lauren said quietly. I know. She told me you yelled every time she went out. I raised my voice during the last fight. I'll own that. I won't own the rest. Lauren swallowed. She said I was with her that night. You weren't. No, her jaw tightened. I wasn't. That was the beginning of Marissa losing Lauren too. The real public collapse happened the following Friday at Jenna's place. I wasn't planning to go. A mutual friend was moving out of state, and Jenna was hosting a casual goodbye thing with takeout, paper plates, cheap beer, and too many people standing in the kitchen because that's where everyone always ends up. Evan told me not to go. Nothing good happens when fresh exes are in the same room, he said. He was probably right. But Jenna texted me separately. Jenna, you don't have to come, but I want you to know Marissa is coming and she's still telling people you kicked her out over one ride. I'm not letting her use my apartment as a stage for that unless you have a chance to answer. I stared at that message for a long time. I didn't want a public fight. I didn't want to stand in a living room proving I wasn't crazy, but I also knew Marissa was counting on my silence. That had been the whole point. Make me afraid to speak because speaking made me look insecure. So I went. I brought nothing printed. No dramatic folder. No speeches. Just my phone with the folder organized if I needed it. When I walked in, the room changed temperature. You could feel it. Conversations didn't stop, but they softened. People looked at me and then looked away. Someone near the counter said, "Hey, man," in the cautious voice people use around a dog they aren't sure is friendly. Marissa was on the far side of the living room, sitting on the arm of a couch with a plastic cup in her hand. She looked good. That annoyed me more than it should have. Her hair was done, her makeup was soft, and she had the wounded but brave expression down perfectly. For the first half hour, I stayed near Evan and talked to the friend who was moving. I ate cold noodles off a paper plate and pretended my stomach wasn't twisting. Then I heard Tyler's name. Marissa's voice carried from the living room. He threw me out because a coworker gave me a ride. That's how insecure he is. The room didn't go silent yet. Not fully, but the people closest to her stopped pretending not to listen. I set my plate down. Evan muttered, "Charles, don't." I'm not going to yell. I walked into the living room. Marissa saw me and rolled her eyes like I had interrupted a private healing circle. Really? She said. I kept my voice low. Do you want to tell them about the canceled rideshare, the location you turned off, or the message where you said you'd make me look crazy first? That did it. Every conversation died. Marissa's face went blank for half a second. What are you talking about? She said. I looked at the people around her, not at her. I'm not doing a speech. I'm just not letting the story be that I ended 6 years because of one harmless ride. Marissa stood. You invaded my privacy. Jenna, from the kitchen doorway, said, I sent him the screenshots. Marissa whipped around. Are you serious? Jenna looked pale, but steady. You used my name for nights I wasn't even there. Lauren was sitting on the love seat. She looked down at her cup, then up at Marissa. Mine too. Marissa's eyes moved around the room, searching for the version of the room she thought she controlled. I pulled out my phone, but I didn't pass it around like entertainment. I showed Jenna first, because she already knew. Then I showed Lauren because her name was involved. The people closest could see enough. There was the timeline. Text, leaving soon. Doorbell, 2:13 a.m. Rideshare, canceled at 1:06 a.m. Location sharing disabled on the same nights. And the screenshot. If he catches the rides, I'll make him look crazy first. Nobody gasped. Real life isn't that clean. Instead, there was a heavy, awkward silence. Someone in the kitchen turned off the music, which somehow made it worse. Marissa's voice shook when she said, "You're all really going to let him do this?" Jenna said, "You did this." Marissa pointed at me. "He's acting like I cheated because someone gave me rides." I said, "No, I'm acting like you lied, used your friends as cover, and built a story about me being controlling before I even knew what was happening. You were controlling. I asked for a text when you were coming home after 2 in the morning. You watch cameras. The camera is on the front door. Tyler parked in front of it. A couple of people looked down. One guy I barely knew suddenly became fascinated with the label on his beer bottle. Marissa tried one more time. Charles raised his voice at me, she said. I did, I said immediately. That surprised her. I looked around the room. I raised my voice during the last fight. I was angry, and I'm not proud of that. I didn't threaten her, touch her, block her from leaving, break anything, or throw her out illegally. I packed a bag with a few days of necessities after she threatened to make the breakup official, and I told her she still had access because her name is on the lease. Marissa's mouth tightened. I turned back to her. You don't get to create the situation and then judge my reaction to it like my reaction happened in a vacuum. No one clapped. No one cheered. It wasn't that kind of moment. It was just the moment her version stopped working. She left 10 minutes later. Lauren didn't leave with her. I stayed another 20 minutes because leaving immediately would have felt like running, but I didn't enjoy a second of it. Jenna apologized again in the hallway before I left. I should have said something earlier, she said. Yeah, I said, because I was too tired to make her feel better. I know. Thank you for saying something now. She nodded. For what it's worth, some people are going to stay quiet because they don't want to admit they judged you. I know. That doesn't mean they still believe her. I know that too. Tyler texted me the next morning. Tyler, I was just giving her a ride. Don't drag me into your relationship. I stared at it over coffee. For the first time in weeks, I almost laughed. Me, whatever she told you about me, she's your problem now. He replied fast. Tyler, she told me things were basically over at home. Me, then congratulations. They are now. He didn't respond to me again. But Marissa sent me a screenshot later that day, probably by accident or maybe because she wanted sympathy. It was Tyler telling her, this is getting too messy for me. I can't be in the middle of this. That was all it took for him to vanish. Not a fight, not a declaration, not some dramatic confrontation in a parking lot, just consequences touching his reputation, and suddenly the exciting alternative needed distance. Marissa unraveled after that. Not publicly at first. Publicly, she went quiet. Privately, she texted me in waves. Marissa, I made mistakes, but you embarrassed me in front of everyone. Me, you brought the story there. I answered it there. Marissa, you could have protected me. Me, from the truth? Marissa, from being humiliated. Me, I protected you for months by staying quiet. Marissa, I needed space. You were supposed to fight for us, not throw me away. That one made me put the phone down for a while. Because the worst part was, a younger version of me would have folded on that sentence. I would have heard pain and mistaken it for accountability. I would have apologized for not fighting harder while ignoring the fact that I had been fighting alone. When I picked up the phone again, I wrote one message. Me, I'm not chasing you just because your threat didn't scare me this time. I fought for respect for months. Every boundary became an insult. Every question became insecurity. I'm done. She didn't reply until after midnight. Marissa, so that's it? Me, that's it. The next few weeks were boring, which was exactly what I wanted. We handled the lease through email. The property manager gave us options, and Marissa eventually agreed to move out while I stayed until the lease ended. She signed the paperwork after 2 reminders and 1 awkward in-person meeting in the leasing office where she wore sunglasses indoors and refused to sit beside me. We split the furniture without drama, mostly because I refused to argue about furniture. She wanted the couch. I let her have it. I kept the bed frame because it had been mine before she moved in. She took the air fryer, which felt personal for about 10 seconds until I realized I didn't care. For the final pickup, Evan came over again, and so did Lauren. That surprised me. Marissa barely spoke. She moved through the apartment with a list on her phone: clothes, shoes, documents, makeup, laptop stand, mail, chargers, framed photos she hadn't already taken. At one point, she stood in the kitchen holding the mug she used every morning. It was chipped on the handle because I had dropped it 2 years earlier, and she had teased me about it for a week. "You can keep it," she said. "No," I said. "It's yours." She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a second I saw the woman from before all this. Or maybe I saw the woman I had wanted her to be. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she said quietly. "I know. That's not an excuse." "No, it's not." She swallowed. "I didn't sleep with him." I believed her, oddly enough. Or maybe I just didn't need the answer anymore. I said, "That stopped being the point." Her eyes filled. Then what was the point? Honesty. Respect. Not making me the villain so you could avoid admitting you crossed lines. She wiped under one eye quickly, like she was angry at the tear for showing up. Tyler was just, she stopped. "Attention," I said. She didn't deny it. After she left with the last box, I walked through the apartment and noticed all the small empty spaces. The blank patch on the bathroom counter where her skincare used to be. The missing row of shoes by the door. The absence of her jacket on the chair, which I had complained about 100 times and suddenly missed for no good reason. I turned off the porch light that night. Not because I was bitter, because nobody was coming home late anymore. Some friends apologized over time. Not all of them. One sent a long message saying they never knew what to think and hoped I was doing okay. Another just started liking my posts again, like that counted as accountability. Jenna stayed in touch, but things were different. I appreciated what she did, and I also never forgot that she waited until the fire reached her own shoes before saying something. Lauren apologized in person a month later. "I judged you," she said. "I'm sorry." I said, "I get why you believed her. That doesn't make it okay." "No," I said, "it doesn't." That was enough. Marissa tried one more time after everything was done. She texted me a picture of the coffee brand I used to buy and wrote, "Saw this and thought of you." I didn't answer. The next day, she wrote, "I hate that we're strangers now." I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. I wanted to say we weren't strangers. That was the problem. I knew exactly how she sounded when she was lying. I knew how she smiled when a message made her feel wanted. I knew how she could turn hurt into a weapon if she felt cornered. I knew the good parts too, and that made it harder, not easier. In the end, I sent one sentence. "I hope you learned from it, but I'm not coming back." Then I muted her. I'm not proud of every second of how I handled it. I raised my voice that night. I stayed too long before doing anything. I cared too much about not looking jealous, and that made me ignore disrespect until it was sitting in my driveway with headlights on. But I will not take responsibility for Marissa's lies. I will not pretend a canceled rideshare, turned off location, fake cover stories, and a planned character assassination were just someone being nice. I didn't need to prove I was the perfect victim. I didn't need every friend to choose me. I didn't need Tyler to admit anything, and I didn't need Marissa to confess to something worse for my decision to count. The relationship ended because trust became a word she used to keep me quiet. Now the apartment is quieter. The coffee is still too strong. The grocery list is shorter. The porch light stays off unless I turn it on for myself. And when I think about that night at 2:17 a.m., I don't think about Tyler's car anymore. I think about the bag in my hand and the look on Marissa's face when she realized her favorite threat had finally been accepted. I didn't need to prove I wasn't jealous. I needed to prove I wasn't staying where respect was optional. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.